Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drop Frames, whatever episode it is. Sorry for starting a little bit late for those watching on Twitch. I had to redo the overlays, and we're missing our guest. I don't know where Jesse is. I'm sure he's fine, but he might be joining us later in the show, or he might not. We'll figure it out whenever we get contacted by him. So until then, not sure if we're gonna go to a full show. We didn't talk about games last week, so in typical Drop Frames fashion, we'll probably say we're not going to go a full show and then end up 10 minutes over. But we'll see where we're at when we get there. Me and Zeke are kind of on a VR high. And when we talk about VR on the show, sometimes it kind of goes places and a little longer. So I don't know. Where do you guys want to start? Do we want to start with the Star Trek, Zeke?
Uh, well, I mean, maybe yeah, sure, whatever. No, I'm just saying,
It's like a Band-Aid. Let's
Yeah.
get it all.
No. It's because Co won't be talking for like.
I know. That's the only
15,
thing I'm
20
worried
minutes.
about.
That's okay. That's totally fine.
Cole, let's talk about one game that you've been playing. And then me and Zeke will geek out about the Star Treks. What do you want? Which game should it be?
Oh, let's definitely talk about, of course, Everspace.
Okay.
Great new procedural space game that I've been playing.
Now, when I'm trying to find the broadcast, what day was this on? Because you
Now,
start
I've been
with
doing
PUBG, so
Yes, I've been doing some weirdness the last 3 days, actually. And what we have been doing is doing it kind of like between Battlegrounds and a game I've been playing after that in the afternoons. Yeah. So it's
Okay.
kind of like sandwiched in there somewhere. It's not really easy to find.
all right.
It's all on my YouTube, though, if that's easier.
I found it. Or wait, is this? What is this? This is a long journey home. Man, you've been playing a lot of PUBG.
Yes.
I'll find it. What is Everspace? What is this?
Okay, so Everspace is a game that I played a long time ago, back when it was very early access. At the time, it didn't really have a kind of a cogent vision. There was no story. I ran into the same stuff frequently when I tried it. I didn't play it for long, but I played it enough to be like, okay, this needs some more time to cook. So it recently was kind of re-released, or actually maybe not really released, I think, for the first time. It may actually be out.
Something
or
like
went through a
that. I saw-
massive patch.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of. The reason I know this game is because something happened to it in the past week, not because you're bringing it up.
Yeah. A lot of people have been playing it, so I think it may have officially released. But regardless, it is a completely different experience now. It is a roguelite. It has roguelite elements. You have this kind of overarching skill tree that you can level up as you get credits in the game. There's now a story that actually ties into the roguelite mechanics, which is pretty interesting and pretty wild as well. The combat itself is super fluid. It is really easy to control. There's tons of different weapons, power-ups. There's 3 different ship types. I've only unlocked 2 of them. Lots of different enemies. And most importantly for me, I've been playing this now for about 3 or 4 hours, and I keep finding new stuff. Every other time I jump into a place, I'm like, whoa, this is new, or I haven't seen that before, stuff like that. So it's come a long way from the last I played it, and I'm still really enjoying it. I'm playing it tomorrow afternoon as well.
Is this mouse and keyboard? Because it looks like you're playing it with a joystick, but you don't have a joystick, right?
No, I am playing mouse and keyboard. The way the controls are done is it's super arcadey. So your ship can like strafe left and right really easily. You pretty much can turn on a dime. You can stop really fast as well. So it makes the whole kind of piloting experience really fluid and one of the more enjoyable from a control perspective flight sim that I played in a while.
Yeah, graphics wise and just the fluidity of the game. I don't even know if that's the term that I want to use, but it just looks smooth. The gameplay looks super fucking smooth.
Looks
Well, and
great
it's
at 144 as well. Like
yeah.
butter. Yeah.
the thing I immediately noticed about it when you're talking about controls and stuff. Oftentimes in space games, you feel like you're in a swimming level, like you're swimming underwater and you have to move slowly and like you move like a fucking battleship and shit like that. I mean, immediately I like that you can very quickly maneuver and zoom and stop and that kind of shit. I think a lot of space games suffer from trying to be too real and not, I want to get to a place.
Yeah,
Right.
kind of like Dreadnought has recently. Absolutely. And that's, you're absolutely right. It is the polar opposite of that slow lumbering feeling. Like you find a place you can go. Not only can you get there fast normally, but then you have a super boost that you can pretty much trigger whenever you want. So it's really fast, really twitchy, and really enjoyable. Had a really good time, having a really good time with it.
What's like are there quests? Do you get ore to upgrade your ship? Like what is the gameplay loop?
So the gameplay loop is FTL, essentially.
Oh.
You
gotta kind of
basically
survive.
Yes, you have a location that you start from, and every time you die, you restart, and then you move through sectors to a location that the kind of AI that's with you is telling you, like, this is where you need to go. I don't know why, but I know you need to get there, and that's one of the parts that kind of ties into the story. So what happens is you have a star map between these sectors that you're seeing right now, and every time you zone in, you kind of start at the beginning. Your computer takes a little bit of time to calculate the exit point, and until then, you have ore you can mine to repair, upgrade, and create new weapons and attachments. You have little mini encounters that have loot boxes you can open up. There's combat like you see here, and there's also some mechanics that tie in to where, like, if you've been in a zone for too long, then you'll get these warnings across your screen like incoming force, like, and that's kind of basically like GTFO where you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You can stay and engage them and get loot, which is a cool kind of side thing, but they're much harder ships and they kind of keep coming. So it's pretty interesting. It's kind of like a very arcadey, more flight simmy FTL. And it even kind of feels that way in the overarching game because, like, each little area can have a bunch of random encounters. There's traders. There's like an NPC faction that you can attack to aggro, or just leave them alone and they'll just do their thing and sometimes even help you. All sorts of little things.
This combat looks rough. Is it difficult as FTL?
Oh, it can be.
It can be?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. If you get it's designed to die. So you're designed to die over and over and over.
Sure. Okay.
So there's definitely parts when it just like gets ridiculous. Like there's mines later in the game that can basically two-shot your ship and they'll blow your ship into other mines. So like you'll hit one mine and it'll blow you up and you'll go careening into another mine and then it's just like you're done from full health. But really the combat itself is very intuitive. It's very twitchy, so it's the kind of thing where if they're shooting a kinetic projectile at you, like something that is actually in space, not a laser, like you can straight up move your ship around it. So if they're like trying to shoot you with a chain gun, you can move in a circle, and like the chain gun will be like 1 inch behind you as you're moving in a circle. So cool. It's pretty cool stuff. And but yeah, you're supposed to die a lot, and it definitely overwhelms you at times. But that just means you get to buy a bunch more perks and try again. So.
Sure.
Zeke, did you try it in VR?
No, I have not tried it in VR. I've heard actually good things about it in VR. But to be honest, this game's a little fast for VR. I feel like that this is one of those games in VR because it's not slow and lumbering.
That makes sense.
Yeah, dude, I would definitely not do this in VR. This kind of like no definite down direction would fuck with my head and my stomach.
Oh yeah, and I mean seriously, there's by the end and like when I was playing today and as I play tomorrow, you get to be pretty good with the ship, and that's actually the medium ship you're looking at. There's a fast ship.
There's different ships. Okay, that was my next question. Is like how many ships?
But it's a lot quicker. There's 3 ships total: the medium, the fast, and like the tank. And I haven't even unlocked the tank yet.
Okay.
So yeah, and then you can unlock a bunch of weapons and systems for each of those, and there's consumables as well. And
are the weapons like a pretty big variance? Is there, or is it just like light, heavy, medium missiles?
Oh no! All sorts of different weapons. Kind of what you'd expect to see in a space game. You've got like pulse lasers. You've got hull and shields, so weapons do different amounts of damage for that. You've got chain guns, scatter cannons. There's seeking projectile guns, like big photon cannons, and then you have a whole bunch of missile loadouts as well: light, heavy, shield. Torpedo, and again, I've only been playing this game for 4 hours, and every time I play, I unlock or see a new weapon, pretty much, or system. I've actually started unlocking a lot more systems lately. Things like extra and different types of shields, tractor beams, things that let you see items better around you, mines, things that let you control other ships temporarily, things that slow down time temporarily. There's a lot of variance.
Without spoiling anything, are there boss fights?
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, there are boss fights. And what's even cooler is the first time that you get in a boss fight, it's kind of story related, and you're like, I know who that is. But like, there's story elements that kind of make it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah.
Any idea how like long of a game or how many hours you can get out of this? I know you're only 4 or 5 hours in, you said, but
yeah, I think it's going to be there. There are people that were in my chat like saying like, I beat this in the first few tries and, I enjoyed it, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's kind of skill based how long it would take you. I personally have been playing it for about 4 hours and haven't yet gotten to sector 3. And I don't even know how many sectors there are.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, I mean, if you're a completionist with this game and you want to like unlock all the power-ups between the rounds, you'll probably get a pretty good amount of time out of this game. and I think it's like $30. So
Yeah,
it's the
I'll look real
price. Yeah, it's a little pricey, but I mean, if you're going the completionist route with it, you can probably get a lot of time out of it.
Yeah, it is $29.99 on Steam. Is it on Xbox and PS4? Do you know?
No idea.
Okay. Very positive reviews with 1,400 reviews on Steam as well. So seems like it's pretty good. This is version 1.0. That's what this is.
Cool.
So it's the full release.
So it
was
is
on
released.
It was full release on May 26th. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Very
that
cool.
game looks pretty rad. I was
a lot of
not
fun. Guys,
expecting
try it.
that from that. It looks pretty good.
I was expecting to play it for an afternoon. I literally told people when I went into the first time, I'm just looking at it. I want to see how far it's come. And then by the end of it, I was like, I'm going to play this again tomorrow. And then I played it today and I was like, shit, I'm going to play it again tomorrow too. Like, this is a lot of fun. It's just good fun.
It looks good. It seems like they solved. Whenever I see a lot of these games, the controls are kind of a hurdle that you have to learn when you jump in. And from the looks of it, it controls very well. Like you're able to lock onto one thing and then use the keyboard to. I assume it's WASD.
It's WASD and then middle mouse button locks on and like right click missile, left click fire, and it's intuitive and feels simple and it's easy to use. Yeah.
Cool.
Took me all of maybe 10 minutes until I felt totally comfortable with the controls.
I'd never heard of it. I'd only heard of this game in the sense of the past week that I knew it came out, but I don't know if this was Kickstarted or if it was just developed or what. But
I think it was actually.
Was it?
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Well, let me take a look here.
Kickstarter, Everspace. Yeah, I guess it was.
Mm-hmm.
This was. How much was it? So.
Yeah, 420,000 euros pledged of 225.
Yeah.
So they like almost doubled their goal with that.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
So that's a good example of a Kickstarter game that
delivered.
Like, hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
When was that? I wonder how long it take them. Let's see. Can you see when the campaign started? I don't know anything about Kickstarter on where to look for this information.
I honestly am not sure.
Zeke, you were gonna say something while I'm looking this up?
Yeah, music, sound effects, sound design.
Oh, the music is great. It has really good ambient music, like that kind of airy, right in the background, a lot of strings, space kind of stuff. And then every so often you'll go into combat and you'll just be like doing your thing and you're like, that's some really good background music I'm listening to. Like it just kind of sneaks up on you.
Okay.
But no, it's good. And the sound design is great as well. Yeah, graphics, sound, and overall presentation of this game is really high quality. Yeah.
It looks like, even though this isn't the actual game, it's a compressed VOD from Twitch. Wink. It still looks really good. The project was launched on August 6th, 2015. So that's pretty good time actually for a project like that to be kickstarted and full release in May of 2017.
Rockfish knows what they're doing, man. That's a solid company.
That's good. That's good.
That's the kind of company, if they put up another Kickstarter, it's going to be successful because they can deliver.
Yeah. Cool. Well, from one space game to another space game, Zeke, where do you want to start with the Star Trek VRs?
I guess I could start with I did a few of the solo missions.
Oh yeah, I haven't even checked those out.
Yeah, I did a few of the solo missions before you guys popped on because I wanted to have at least someone there who was familiar with the game and had played it for a little bit. And so I went through a couple of solo missions, and let me tell you, it is so much better with 3 other people actually on the bridge with you, because in the solo mode you have to pull up like your orders list so many times. You have to like look at your engineer, pull up the orders list, tell him this is what I want, rather than just speaking it like, hey, could I get some more power to the engines and stuff like that. But I will say it made like captaining the ship so much easier because I knew a little bit more what I wanted. And
this is not me going to this. I randomly.
Oh, I didn't even get to see. I didn't get to watch your stream do it. I didn't know you put your head way back. And you're like,
yeah, you only caught me doing it like once or twice too, and that was pretty funny. That was pretty good. Because that was the weird thing is I went back and watched your perspective.
Yeah.
Because all 4 of us were streaming. I guess we started. It was me, Aurelian, Sir Scoots, and Zeke. Zeke was captain. I was helm, which is basically flying it. Aurelian was Scott was like the engines, and Aurelian was
Engineer.
like the guns and
Tactical.
Tactical, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Helm, tactical, engineer, captain.
Yeah, and they all play very differently. Like from my perspective, I kind of just stare at this screen and stare at the main screen. But I was watching like Zeke's perspective, and he sees like everyone doing their own thing, and also the main screen. So he kind of obviously oversees. He's the captain. But for like me and Scoots, we're like completely focused on our little panels as we're trying to do different things, and he's trying to give power to different things. But I will say Zeke did the tutorial, right? So he went in here as the captain. There's me doing that again. He went in there as the captain. and knew what he was.
Look at him look over at Aurelian being like, huh? It's funny, right?
Yeah.
Giant invisible dick.
Yeah. I can see you raging right there. He went into this knowing what to do. So when we started flying, which I'll try to find the point in the VOD right here, we started off and Zeke was like, all right, JP, take us away. And I had no fucking clue what I'm looking at here. So I just start pressing buttons, and there's a space station right in front of us, and I just fly straight into it. And Zeke's like...
He just goes very slowly like grandma, like,
yeah.
dunk.
Yeah.
He hits it a couple of times like, bring her about, Mr. Moogle. I'm trying. I don't know.
Yeah, it's right here. Because I thought this thing right here that I'm showing with my cursor was left and right, but it's actually the little like full nodule thing.
Yeah, the circle is how you turn to degrees and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know. But yeah, it was good. It was probably my favorite VR experience that I've played in, and I think it is the first VR experience that I could say like you should seek this out in some form. If you have a friend that has VR, you should play it. If you have the means to purchase a VR, you should play it, and you should play it with people. I haven't done the solo stuff, but the way that Zeke was talking about it, the experience is heightened 100 times by playing with other people.
Is there any kind of online matchmaking?
I think there is. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. And the cool thing too is I was playing on PSVR. Actually, me, Zeke, and Aurelian were all playing PSVR, and Scoots was playing on the Vive, and it had no problems whatsoever connecting us. I know Waffle's been playing on the Oculus. I think Bike Man, I think, was playing Oculus. Waffle, I think, was Oculus as well. And so there's, I think that's kind of the way that VR games need to go in the future is all the platforms got to be able to play with one another because there's not enough players on one platform to facilitate a game always being like able to find people unless all the platforms are one. My experience on PSVR, and Zeke can speak to this as well, like I had no issues whatsoever. It looked fine. It wasn't obviously as sharp as like a fucking crazy PC is going to be, like Scott is going to be. In fact, I'll pull up his stream in just a sec to see what it looked like because I haven't seen it yet. But it played and it was fine.
As far as the multiplayer goes, the easiest way to get a group of people going is if they have PlayStation VR. If they're on the PSVR, it's so much easier to go through the PlayStation like on your console like desktop. Yeah. Like go through the notifications, grab the invite, and go and get into the game that way. We didn't even go through Uplay or not. Is it Uplay?
It's Uplay, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go through Uplay or the Ubisoft what's the club? Ubisoft Club or whatever the fuck it is.
Which is basically Uplay, yeah.
Yeah, went straight through PSVR, went straight through the PlayStation like invite system, and it worked just fine.
Yeah.
I will say that I had my camera I think set up in a bad position because periodically after playing for a while, my arms, the PSVR would think that this was straight. Like my arms were straight.
Yeah, you were having some issues.
So I'd be looking straight ahead and my arms would be over here. So I'd have to like move my shit. So camera placement for me was key. So
yeah,
have your camera in a good spot.
It's got to be able to
or
see.
Else, you might have problems.
It really has
arms.
to be able to see like your entire like almost knees up. But anywhere that you think the controller should go, the camera's got to be able to see, and that's really hard to like plan out unless you know what the distance you want to move is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and also in the captain's chair, the captain has like the stuff that comes up in front of him, but also stuff down here. So you have to like have the camera be able to see your controllers go down here to click on like the armrest things. You have to be able to go down there. And also, I will say that I think it's really, really fucking stupid that they put the answer hail button next to the red alert button.
There was so many times.
Like, on screen, beep, beep, false alarm, my bad, everybody, my bad.
Yeah.
You finally hit the right button, and the guy on the other side is like, they're under red alert, fire!
What's going on?
That happened multiple times where everyone's just doing their thing. I'm trying to fly the ship.
Quiet.
Super quiet. And all of a sudden, boop, boop. We're like, Captain, what's wrong? He's like, sorry, my bad.
Throw my arms up like, my bad, everybody.
Yeah, which was honestly fine. It added to the humor of everything. Let me. I'm gonna pull up Zeke's VOD so we can see what the captain sees and all this stuff.
I will say, like one of the really I think the more you get into your role, the more fun you have. This is one of those games where, as long as everybody is paying attention to each other, like of course you can be goofy and fuck around, stroke a giant dick and stuff. But it can be really, really fun to also be like in a tense situation. There was a few really tense situations towards the end where I, as the captain, I have kind of a synopsis of everything that I'm seeing. Like I can see the ship status. I can see like where we're going, like the map, the view screen, like all this kind of stuff. And I keep track of like a basic like gist of everything that's going on. And you have to like trust your captain to be like, all right, hold. We're taking like shots from these Klingon warbirds. Like, hold it. We can't jump yet. Hold. When we hit 20% and wait, don't engage. And then you like blast out of there because you got to, stall them or wait or whatever. There were some pretty cool moments.
Totally. Yeah. I think a lot of people would probably look at this, and I think I even looked at this maybe when it was announced, as kind of just a tech demo, like not a full game, not it's just a way to show VR people, or show VR to people that's approachable. It's in a universe that they've understood, that's existed for quite some time. But now after playing it, like it's a full-fledged game. Like there's they have a mission, they have a campaign that you can play. I think it's 5 or 6 missions. But then they even have like just create a random mission thing. So basically it's kind of endless because it's all randomized, I think, at that point. So you can kind of just play as many times as you want. And it hopefully won't get mundane. Granted, I haven't done that yet, so I don't know how many times you're going to see repeating things.
Now you're seeing the solo. This is solo. This is not me with anybody else.
Oh,
this is how you
solo.
control the solo. Yeah. Like you bring up their orders.
Okay, let me.
JP, how far did you say you guys made it?
We got to mission 4, Zeke? 5?
Yeah, I think we completed 4 missions, and there's 5 total, and one Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah.
But was it difficult? Did you guys ever?
We died. We died
Yeah.
once or twice. Yeah.
I think we died twice. I think doing missions.
Yeah.
Nice.
It has there's a lot of like intricacies in the at least in my overlay, like learning what the different circles around your ship mean, how to, if you decrease shields, your like detect radius goes down. So if you want to like stealth by a ship, we would tell Aurelian, or Zeke would tell Aurelian to drop shields, and then I would fly by a ship undetected, and then we'd put shields up again when we go in combat. So there's a lot of like, the captain has to know what each person does, obviously, and the person has to know how to do things pretty quickly. And they teach it to you, or the missions are, at least when we played, are designed so that you kind of learn this stuff just as you go. It doesn't necessarily teach you. It's just little things that happen where you'll learn like, oh, that's how that happens. Oh, okay, so we can go hide in that and just sit there, and they're not going to be able to find us as easily while our shields are recharging because we have them turned off. But the second we get in a fight, we got to turn on the shields. I gotta line the ship so we can get out of here with a warp vector. Zeke's gonna call for that. I have my hand on the engage button. Blah blah blah. Like there's a lot of different things going all at once, and it made for a really awesome experience. Like Zeke said, I think we started off, or at least I started off, super jokey. And if you watched the last mission, like there was no like bullshit clutter voice talk at all. It was everyone responding to Zeke with Captain, yes sir, no sir, recommendation Captain, how about we try doing this? Zeke saying no, Zeke saying yes. Like it was pretty fucking cool. Like you got into it no matter what. It was that immersive that you just sunk into what you were doing.
And you find yourself like saying like Star Trekky things like Sir Scootimus, Mr. Scootimus, as I called him, is the engineer, and obviously the engineer takes ownership. Like there's a certain ownership feel for the engineer of the ship itself. So I would say Star Trekky things to Sir Scootimus like, how do you feel about what these guys are doing to your ship, Mr. Scootimus? He's like, oh, my baby is getting torn up and like shit like that. Yeah. And Mr. I would say laying a course for this. Mr. Moogle would say, course laid in, Captain. Yeah. Waiting for your go, and I'd say engage, and off we'd go, and shit like that.
Yeah, and it was
really cool.
I started fucking with Zeke too because he was like, all right, let's go. And I was like, Captain, you got to say the word. And he would pause for a second, and he'd be like, engage. And I'd just button right away. And every time he'd do that, I was smiling like side to side on my fucking stream. But no one else knew that. I'm sure everyone else was as well. So there's a lot of like really cool shit like that.
Yeah. And from the captain's chair, like there are certain things that like the captain can see the objectives. That's like the main thing the captain sees that the other people don't see are the objectives on like what Starfleet wants you to do. Like you see the objectives, it says search for this, do this, but the other people don't see that. The captain is the only one that sees the objectives. So I have to explain to them, and it's more fun to explain to them in a Star Trek-y fashion what we need to do, rather than say like these are the objectives. Number 1, blah 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 blah. It's more fun to try to get them to do it without actually just reading it verbatim. Like instead it says, you must warp to blah, blah, blah. You say, Mr. Moogle, set a course for da-da-da-da-da, engage. That kind of shit. Yeah. And that's really, really fun. The other really fun thing that I thought was really super cool is when you have to work together as a team, like i.e. a stealthy kind of a mission, you have to coordinate with all the people. You have to say, I need Miss Aurelian, I need you to drop the shields and power down the torpedoes. And then you ask Mr. Scootimus, you can see that 6.5 kilometers in the bottom corner there. That's how much of a distance when we look to the right. You'll see it right in the bottom if I look back over there anytime soon. But that's the distance that we can be detected. So if shields are on, it raises the distance to 10 kilometers. If the torpedoes are powered up, it raises it to like 20. So you have to power down systems, and you have to get each person to do this. And also you have to like tell them like, we're going to go really like quiet, slow and steady through this, to this thing. You have to navigate, like there's warbirds all around you, and you have to tell the helm to steer clear of them. He can see them, but you coordinate with him like, what do you think? Should we thread the needle? Should we just avoid him completely? And you kind of confer that way. It's really, really neat.
Yeah. This mission in particular is kind of a survive 20 minutes mission. So you're jumping from different places while having like birds of prey and other Klingon ships like circle around you, and you have to like warp out of that system to the other system. And then you sit there and kind of recuperate, and Scootimus has to like repair the engines or get our shields back up and all that stuff. The two big things that I think really make the experience fucking incredible are, even with the PSVR, and it does this through the camera, and the Oculus obviously does this as well, and the Vive does this with its cameras, is when I'm in my little station over there and I physically turn in my seat and it shows me turning in screen, from Zeke's perspective, my actual avatar in-game turns and looks at the captain.
Oh, that is cool.
So it feels like you're actually in this room. And the other thing too is there's just random NPCs around. Like that's Spock right to my left, and it has directional voice on the platform. So if
It's not really Spock.
Oh, it's not Spock. It looks very much like Spock. If I sit there, maybe that's racist.
Oh, the Vulcans would be.
The Vulcans would be so pissed.
You say that. Oh, we all look alike, huh?
Oh my god.
But like, if I would sit there and to my left, I would like whisper, "Hey, like, fuck you, Spock," or something like that, and the rest would hear it as an actual whisper because the voice is away from them. But if I turn to the captain and physically turn all the way around, then my voice is like actively louder in his headset. So it's got directional voice in the entire ship, which is fucking awesome. Because I know if Zeke is looking to his right and saying something to me, or if he's staring at me and yelling at me, because it's that much louder. So that coupled with the idea of like people turning and people looking at you, and like the VR presence is so real that you know when someone is actively looking at what you're doing. And it almost makes you a little bit not nervous, but it gives you the idea like someone's literally staring at me right now.
See, there he is, turning to look at me.
Yeah.
He turns to look to talk to me, and you can tell the difference when he turns to look at you.
Yeah,
that's the kind of immersive
fucking
stuff
crazy.
that's really going to make this take off. Like that is so cool to hear that. It's a little thing, but that is so big.
It's the most important thing. It's because if it was just like if it was audio was all the same and people were super stationary, I think this would be so much less fun. But the fact that you can turn and do all that stuff, it's super fucking cool. I want to take a look at Scoot's perspective because he was playing on the Vive. I want to see what that looks like.
Scoots was actually the closest to me, so he didn't have to turn around in his chair. So every time I talked to Scoots, he would look up at me and talk to me unless he was super busy. You could tell if it was a hectic situation because he wouldn't be looking at me. He'd just be talking. But if it was like, Sir Scoots, can you tell me about the shields? And he actually physically look at me and be like, blah, 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 blah. It was fucking great.
There was one time in particular, and it was during one of the more difficult missions where Scott was like keeping the ship alive via the different shields and all that stuff. And Zeke said something along the lines of like, good job, Sir Scootimus, you're really keeping the ship alive. Without you, we'd be dead in the water or something like that. And all three of us in game saw each other turn to Scootimus, and Scott's still down doing this. And then we see him throw his hands up because in real life he threw his hands up to like say like notice me. And all of us noticed that and we all just started fucking laughing. Because it was like yeah, I fucking did it. What's up? that was really fucking rad. Like that type of stuff is super fucking important. Here's obviously when you take ship damage, things blow up around you, so it does that as well. Eventually the ship will catch on fire. We blew up like I think twice, Zeke.
Yeah.
And it zooms out. You can go to a space view. I don't know how you do it on some of the other controls, but with the move controls, you just press the big button. It kind of goes above the ship. And there's a lot of things where if you're just out in the middle of space, you can hit that and then just look around and it looks fucking cool. Like you're in space. There's different things to look out, like black holes and things like that, which are just visually really impressive when you're in VR.
Yeah, you like transport yourself like you're 30 feet above the ship itself, so you can actually just look around in space. It's pretty. There's some pretty motherfucking majestic shit that you can see.
So this is Vive gameplay, and as far as I know, with the Vive, all you need is the headset. I don't know if you're using... I guess you are using those little controllers, right? It doesn't just track the hands. I'm not 100% sure. I think you would use the Vive controller.
Yeah, you use... No, when I was at E3 and did the demo, they had the Vive there, and you use the circular thingies.
That's also a fun thing to do. If you just rotate your controller, your wrist breaks the entire time.
Yeah.
So
you can like turn your hand all the way around if you just twist the controller in your hand like this.
Oh, here was Scott looking around the ship. I'll show that real quick. This was, I forgot which mission this was specifically, but like, here's the thing. We played, there's the outside stuff.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
We played 5 hours last night. And we never changed positions on the ship in terms of what we were all doing. But
that's something I thought was pretty outstanding, that we finished the first mission, and I said, all right, did anybody else want to be captain, or anybody else want to change? And no one wanted to change.
Yeah.
Nobody. Everybody was like, I'm fine where I am.
I think we got situated in that role, and we didn't want to change it up and fuck things up. But having seen the other perspectives, they are completely different from what I was doing in terms of flying the ship. Like Zeke looking at the objectives and kind of seeing what everyone else is doing. Seeing this for the first time with Scott, his entire platform is 100% different. And then I need to show the footage of... you can go back and play on the old Enterprise. Is it the Enterprise? Is that?
Yeah,
is it?
no,
Okay.
It's the old Enterprise, yeah.
And when I say old Enterprise, take a look at the UI that you're seeing here. Kind of take this all in, see what you're looking at, and then I'll show you the old Enterprise and how fucking crazy this is. This is quote for advanced users. Without the... Those are tutorials. So you can turn those off, and then you're just seeing an array of buttons in front of you. So this is a little bit more complex than what mine
It's like
was
expert
too.
mode or something.
Something like that, yeah.
No, they say like before you jump into this game, it says like a little like header, like a little yellow header. It says for advanced players only.
Yeah.
Because if you look down, it's unlabeled crystal buttons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Now tell me something. Is this the kind of thing where like all those buttons are based on actual Star Trek like layouts from the shows and stuff? Like, is this
think so?
It's like an actual simulator?
I think
Oh, the
so.
layouts, I'm sure the layouts are pretty canon, but I don't know if the buttons are canon. Like they do the same things. I doubt that because they have to technobabble shit. So
Yeah.
I'm sure they press the same buttons here and there for different shit.
It has
but
the same audio from the original show. Like the button clicks are like they're like a typewriter click. So when no one's talking, you just hear just nonstop of people like fiddling with different shit. And it also has that the signature like Star Trek pulse, I guess is the best way to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's going on in the background the entire time. I want to show, this is the engineering, obviously, and he had more of a visual look than I did. Mine was something else. Let me pull it up here.
And the thing that they do with the captains for the Enterprise version is so much, like, it's minimized. Like they take away all kinds of shit from the captain and they give it all to everybody else. So you, as the captain, you're like, well, I actually can't see this on a view screen. I need somebody to tell me these things.
Yeah.
Does the captain get anything because of that? Like, or does he just have less stuff to do?
No, you have to ask each person more questions, like how are our engines? How are this? How is that?
Yeah, and Scott was kind of off on
Is
his
this
own.
us dabbing?
Yeah, we were trying to dab. It
Trying
didn't
to
work.
dab.
It didn't work very well. It looks so stupid.
Trying to.
And that's the presence that I'm talking about, right? Because Aurelian's like just literally turned with her hands at her side, just being like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" And that's what she's actually doing in her fucking computer room, wherever that's at. But yeah, this is the flight thing, which is literally just a 6x6 grid of buttons that don't have anything unless you turn up the little help menu. That's like my radar screen right here in the center. So you have to use that to like target people. It was a one time and I was good type situation because it was much less of a graphical, or not graphical, but it just looked like it was from the 60s, and I was done with it after one or two. But it was much different. So there's a lot of different, or at least two ships. I don't know if they're planning on adding DLC for this stuff, but I really hope they do. I really hope they continue to add missions or like different ships.
I hope so.
Like flying it with a different race of ships, like playing a fucking bird of prey. That would be fucking sick. Or
Oh my god! Or
Imagine
Romulan warbird.
yeah.
Dude, imagine if they do stuff like that and they put like voice mods, so everyone that talks to each other in like Klingon, it gets like 2 octaves lower.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. I guess in terms of complaints, you can't turn off voice chat in game. It's always on. We use the voice chat in game. We couldn't use Discord, and it's not the best. You have to fiddle with it to get it. When we first started out, it was literally like Zeke was like fucking 100 dB just yelling in my fucking ears. We had to adjust it pretty quickly, or else streams were gonna die.
You can adjust individual people. Like I could look at JP's voice and turn him up or down.
Right.
Which is integral. What I don't understand is why they don't have full mute. Like you can turn them down to the point where it's like a whisper, but it's like you can still hear them if you want to hear the in-game sound. Their voice is still on. There's no like full mute. And I was like, why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit it's definitely a little bit annoying. But at the same time, you can literally put on a headset and everything will work. Like we didn't have to turn on our microphones on our headsets. It just worked. And we were just talking the second we joined this lobby as you're like planning the different missions and shit. So that was good to see, the fact that it just worked the second you put it on.
Yeah, it's right here. There's the speaker in the headset, in the PSVR headset. It's right here.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't wear that. Yeah.
So it's right there. When you're talking, it just goes right into there.
That's not bad.
That's where your microphone is, I mean.
Yeah, I think once we actually adjusted and got everyone's volumes both on their own settings and the settings of their own PS4 and in game, it wasn't too terrible.
But I will say with a less than optimal internet connection, it had a tendency to break up for me quite a bit.
Yeah, there was a couple times where he would talk and it would be a little bit going in and out, basically.
Yeah, like a walkie-talkie that's too far away.
Sure.
So you're like, yeah, can you get things, please?
Yeah. And again, this is from the PSVR perspective, which is, is a PSVR with a PS4 Pro, is that the cheap, like how much is that? That's what, 403, so 700. How much is the Oculus? Is an Oculus 600?
Well, I just bought a Vive. I know a Vive is 8.
A Vive's 800.
Vive is still 8. Oh wow.
I just bought one.
Yeah. Chat will tell us what an Oculus is in terms of price. That's the other thing. It was announced, I think yesterday, maybe the day before, that if you buy I think it's a Vive. If you buy a Vive, this game comes free with all Vives from now on, which is like, it is the perfect pack-in. Like this is the definitive game, I think, for VR on PCs.
This game is coming packaged with a Vive?
With a Vive, yeah.
Motherfucker!
Yeah.
God damn it, I should have waited.
It's bigger write-off. It's fine. Just write it off. Still need I guess you still need a PC for the Oculus too. Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. Just the Vive itself is 800. Then you got to have a PC. So by all, I guess examples
for all
I can
intents
think
and
of,
purposes,
a PSVR is the cheapest way to play this, which is still around $700 all in.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to play, Star Trek Bridge Crew on PSVR, it's gonna run you about $750, $800.
Which is a lot, man. It's a lot. And especially if you want to play it with 3 other friends, it's almost $3,000 for all of that hardware. So it's not a cheap.
That's not enthusiast at all.
Yeah, it's not a cheap thing whatsoever. That's for fucking sure. But I will say, if they continue to make experiences like this, if like the VR dev community looks at what this game is doing and builds upon this, then I guess I'm actually excited for VR again. Because there was a time where I was just like, I can't be bothered to set up my Vive and put these fucking things up in the corners, and it's actually a long process to set up a Vive. It is.
That's why I didn't do it, because I have a Vive.
Yeah,
I thought about setting up my Vive and getting it on Steam or Uplay or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
and setting it all up, and I went, you know what? Fuck that. I can just download it on my PlayStation right now and just play it immediately, and I don't have to set up any cameras or anything, and I can sit in my fucking chair.
Yeah, same here. So yeah, I think that's, for me, this is like, and again, I did play Resident Evil 7, and maybe that's a question for Zeke, since you've played both.
Yeah.
Is Resident Evil 7 a better experience, or is it just a different experience?
If you're asking which one was a better experience for me, Star Trek for sure, because I got to play with friends. I got to play with friends. I got to play co-op, and it turned out like really, really like super fun when you start working as a team, and you know what questions to ask, and you get a handle on what's going on your ship and stuff like that. It's so much fun. Like the fun meter. However, bare bones as a game, Resident Evil is better.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, Resident Evil was more of I don't want to use the words full experience, but it was a full game. It was a game that could, it was a game that could stand on its own without VR in that sense. Whereas this is like, you have to play this in VR. It doesn't work on its own, but it is still it's still a full game. I think looking at this and paying $50, I kind of want to say for most people, the dollars per hour, if you use that method, should go up with VR games, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but it really should.
That was one of the biggest negatives for Bridge Crew, is that you got 5 missions, 6 if you count the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah.
And just I want more. I felt I was owed more from a $50 game, you know?
And that was about 5 or 6 hours.
So wait, there's 5 missions and it's $50?
It's $60. Yeah.
$60.
Yeah. But there's also Zeke's forgetting like you can do like the create a mission type deal where you say like, we want to go shoot people, or we want to go investigate things, or blah blah blah. They have like a mission generator, so to speak, but it doesn't necessarily have the like story influence in it. I don't think it's like just go kill these people or kill X amount of ships. And we didn't really Well, we did that once last night when we were doing the survey stuff.
Oh, you're talking about the old timey missions.
No, isn't
like on the Enterprise.
I thought it was for both. Can't you do missions where it's just like go survey things? So you can only do campaign on the Aegis?
Campaign is Aegis.
Oh.
The other single missions are Enterprise only,
okay.
As far as I know. Because I know when I clicked Aegis, the campaign would light up, and the other one would gray out. And then I picked Enterprise, and the other one would light up and gray out the other one.
I wasn't. But
I could be wrong. That's just my first impression of what I saw. Okay.
So hold on though. So how long did it take you guys to complete 4 of the 5 missions?
5.5 hours, I think.
Okay, well that's still, I don't know, man.
It's $10 an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
I thought it was like 25 or $30.
No.
I didn't think it was 60.
No, it's a full price game.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's $50 on Steam and $60 on PlayStation, I think, is how it prices out.
People are saying you can do both. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you can? Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, saying Burke Black did the missions on that. Okay.
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 That would seem
so that
definitely adds to it. Yeah.
Didn't look.
I would say in all with that, depending on how much you like doing that, it's probably like a all in before you get tired of it. I would say like an 8 to 10 hour experience maybe. Which for $60, like if you factor in like AAA game times these days, like that's kind of normal if the experience is worth it. Not counting like a Fallout or anything like that, which is obviously a little bit more. But like a story driven AAA game, 7 to 10 hours I think is decently sized. But you got
$50 on PSN.
Yeah. Oh, it's $50. Okay. I thought it was 60. So $50 across the board. But at the same time, like the reality of it is, if you can spend $700 on a PlayStation VR, a $50 game is not like, I don't know if that's too much to ask.
I don't know, dude. I think it's a slippery slope to start saying,
it is.
Well,
You're
spending
right,
money anyway. Like,
well, this is definitely like this.
If anything,
definitely...
I think if you have to spend a bunch of money on hardware, then maybe they should cut you a little slack on the games in a lot of cases.
I think.
I mean, you got to remember, we're talking to the console market here. If they were enthusiasts, they'd be on PCs. So it's like, they're clearly there's a cost benefit that comes with consoles that I think seems a little bit lost when you're charging $300 for a peripheral and then $60 for a 5-hour game experience. That seems a little.
I kind of do the going to the movies analogy. Like, it's going to cost me as one person to go to the movies for a 2-hour thing. It's going to cost me between $20 and $30 to go to the movies if I want a ticket, popcorn, drink, anything like that. Like what I normally would spend. Like $20, $25, something like that. And that's 2 hours. So that's, $10 an hour. Was this game worth what it would be for 5 movies or excuse me, for 2.5 movies? Absolutely. Like the entertainment and fun factor is it's probably one of the funnest experiences I've had gaming, like, period. It's just once you sink into it.
Yeah.
And but that I might be biased because I'm a Star Trek fan and I love Star Trek and I've watched TNG.
You know what?
3 times, the whole series, like 3 or 4 times.
And someone just brought up a really good point in chat that I didn't consider at all. You guys got 4 or 5 hours out of it, and you only played one position the entire time.
That's also
Very
true.
Yeah.
Theoretically, I'm assuming it's a completely different experience across the 4 positions, right?
It seems it, yeah.
So you could argue that's like 20 hours worth of content.
Sure. Yeah, to go back through all the missions doing someone else's job, yeah, that's definitely a good point.
Good call, chat. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
That was a really good point. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
And the other thing too, when we're talking about prices and stuff, like, this is still enthusiast gear. This is the G-Sync monitors of consoles, right? Like, this is the high end of of video games at the moment in terms of where you're winning, how much money you're willing to spend for this stuff. It's not their system seller. It's not the God of War or the Uncharted, right? Like, this is the fucking end game of video games at the moment. So that's something to think about when it comes to all this as well. But I think me and Zeke both agree, like, we had a fucking blast doing this stuff. I think we're going to continue and finish the missions on Sunday. Then we might swap around on the different ship positions and see where we go from there. So that's that. I think Burke Black has been playing a lot. Bike Man's been playing a lot. If you want to check that out, I think Waffle might be playing some later tonight. So bunch of different streamers are jumping in as well. And yeah, that's that. That's Star Trek VR. Hell of a game. A lot of fun. Super excited for it. Did not expect to like it as much as I did. And I will also say I'm not a Star Trek fan whatsoever. Like, I've watched episodes of The Next Generation and stuff like that, but I'm not a huge Star Trek fan. And I was still able to enjoy it. So, how much time we got? We got about 20 minutes. What else have you been playing besides Everspace? Where do you want to jump to?
Checked out also a game called The Long Journey Home.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, it is also a space game. It is also kind of FTL-y. In fact, a little bit more than Everspace almost. But it does some really interesting things as well. It's kind of a physics-based FTL game almost, because there's 2 kind of distinct control modes. And the first one is when you're kind of a lander on a planet. And that is you have to tilt your lander, and the thrusters only go down and up, so you have to kind of angle that. You also have to deal with gravity and wind. So it's kind of this mini game. Here, this is the very start of it, where you kind of have to figure it out to get off the planet. But it's basically like a lander mini game. And then you have the system map, where you're dealing with gravity wells and a booster in an actual kind of 2D space environment. So there's like, there's like your inertia is a big factor and things like that. And you have to kind of like ride the gravity wells using your thruster to get into orbit of other planets, and then you can land on them and do the lander minigame. And then outside of those action sequences, you have your ship, you have your crew members. They can all sorts of different random things can happen to them. You get items that can be used. They suffer injuries whenever you jump potentially. It just has a lot of like little random stuff thrown in to kind of give it a very FTL feeling. There's other ships that you can fight. There's actually some space combat. It's pretty rudimentary, but it definitely works. And I actually had a really good time with it. It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun.
What would you liken this, like, I think you just threw out a lot of games, but I don't know if I've seen a game that like kind of looks like it looks very unique.
It's very unique. And it was kind of fun because like I haven't really had a lot of experience with, games like this in any way.
Right.
But really an interesting way to think about it is after I played this game for about 4 or 5 hours total. And by the end of it, I really felt like they were kind of like mini games connecting an FTL backbone. They got to the point where it they just felt kind of like they were in the way. Sometimes I just wish I could like go to the planets and see what's on there, instead of having this kind of like little barrier of the kind of mini game aspect of it. But at the same time, it does get to a point where you get pretty decent at it, and you can kind of get where you want to go when you want to. But outside of all that, I got to say the game was pretty brutal. Like, they don't make it easy. You very quickly and easily run out of fuel. The game does not hesitate to put you in really bad positions frequently. And you're definitely kind of designed to die and do it over and over. Although there is not really the meta roguelike component that a game like Everspace has. It's still, a lot of fun. And I had a good time with it. I had a really good time with it.
Did you finish it?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
But
I actually, it was fun and I enjoyed it. But I definitely I preferred the gameplay elements of Everspace when I tried that over the gameplay elements of this game. And I felt like they're similar in a lot of ways when you're talking about like random space environments and kind of moving down a chain of randomized scenarios. They're both kind of like that, but I just really preferred Everspace's kind of action-y, simulatory over this game's more kind of engineering focused almost. Like it instead of, like fighting ships in a 3D space, you're kind of almost calculating gravity angles and trying to decide the best way to approach planets. And then you're deciding the best way to angle your thrusters and wind. Like it was just different. It was very different. I think people that like Kerbal Space Program will really enjoy this game.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who played Kerbal Space Program for like an hour and was kind of like, this isn't really my thing. So yeah, KSP people will probably really enjoy this.
It looks kind of like Kerbal Space Program Lite.
In a way, with like a pretty thorough game package wrapped around it. Like there is an overarching story. there's alien races all over the place. There's lots of different loot to get. There's places to visit. There's a lot of very kind of art, like this guy right here. There's a lot of kind of like RPG elements in the game as well that I think will keep people interested for a while if they can kind of get involved in that side of it.
Cool. All right. What's the name of this again?
The Long Journey Home.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
Cool. I got a quick game that I touched on. I haven't finished it yet. Zeke, I highly recommend it for you. I think this game's right up your alley, and maybe Co as well. I played Rime last week, which is a game
I bought that. I'm gonna give it a look probably tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty far outside of my wheelhouse. I'll say it is. I gotta pull it up and find exactly when I decided to play this game, but it how do I explain what this game is? Here it is.
This is interesting because one of the reasons I haven't played it yet is because I felt like it looked very much like another game that I recently played.
Which was?
Zelda.
It is not like Zelda at all. There's no combat.
Really?
There's no. It's only puzzles. In fact, I'm spoiling a lot of puzzles right here.
Well, I
Whoops,
bet I
that's
can.
5,000.
Just by looking at it, JP, I bet I can guess what this game is about. A land of discovery stretches out before you. Explore the beautiful, rugged world of Rime, armed with your wits and a will to overcome and the guidance of a helpful fox. You must explore the enigmatic island, reach the tower's peak, and unlock its closely guarded secrets. But I could be wrong.
So
That may be the best guess I've ever heard.
that's a pretty good guess. The funny thing about that pitch that they use for that game, why is Twitch? There we go. The funny thing they use about that pitch for the game is I played through the first, quote, 2 chapters, levels, whatever you want to say. Really levels, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. And the story is very much kind of fill in what you think is happening type thing. There's a lot of things where you're
good
just,
or bad way.
in a way that when every time that would I kept saying like, all right guys, we're gonna finish it. We're gonna stop streaming as soon as I finish the puzzle. I'd finish the puzzle. Something would happen. I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, that looks cool. I want to see what that means. Okay, we're going to do the next puzzle. We're going to move on.
Look at your face, though. Look at your face while you're doing this. You got that furrowed brow, like.
Yeah. Well, no, the entire game is puzzle. The other thing that I was really surprised and pleasantly surprised I should say about this game is, and here's a moment that you're kind of like, what the fuck is that? I want to see what this is. I got to figure out what this is. It's not really a spoiler. That guy just kind of shows up a lot. And you can see my face is like, what the fuck is going on type situation. But the puzzles in this game, I don't know if it was because I was in this was like 4 a.m. one night and I was in like a puzzle zen state where I could just solve shit very easily. but I was never stumped by anything in the game. Even though you're not given clues, even though you're not told how to solve things, you'll walk up to something and you'll understand just kind of by what's around you, what you need to do, what you think you need to do. And the game will like help you through that just by what's going on in the game. Like I was never stumped at all. It's a very simplistic game. You have one button that does, or two buttons that do action. Y, basically, the kid just screams and his voice does things. He just goes, ah, ah, and like things will light up, or certain things in the game will run away from you, or there's mechanics that use his voice for a lot of that. And then X will grab stuff. It'll grab onto certain things that you can manipulate. There's also, I guess, a jump button as well, which is there's a little bit of platforming involved in some of this. But with all that said, I didn't even mention it, and I should have at the very beginning. The game is fucking gorgeous. It has like a very amazing looking art style that doesn't really show here in this nighttime cycle. I can actually fast forward to, or rather fast backwards to some daytime stuff here that is fucking awesome looking. They do a lot of perspective puzzles like this, where you got to figure out exactly what to move in certain positions so you can see things in a different way that unlock doors. And I've played the first two levels. They are vastly different in what your objectives are. First one's kind of exploration. The second one, you're evading a thing, and you will die immediately if this thing catches you. So it's got a sense of like urgency when you're walking around. I don't want to say what outside of that without spoiling it. And then
I think you can stop showing the video now.
Okay, yeah, it's getting a little spoilery.
Yeah,
I'm trying to see. I do want to show the very end, which is, I don't know if I got here. That's another puzzle. Fuck. Well, I guess that's enough of Rime in terms of what I showed, but because a lot of it is spoiler based. But the third,
it's the developer is Tequila Works, so that's a positive. That's
yeah. They were actually their pedigree for games is they made the Castlevania game, the latest Castlevania game, ages ago.
And they were behind the Sexy Brutale?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
They're a cool little dev house for sure. Second area is kind of like this desert world. Third area was a jungle world that was like, I saw the very beginning of it, and I saw something that's in that world that was not anywhere else whatsoever, that looked very interesting and very different from the other two places. So I want to go back and eventually finish it. I haven't yet. I will say those two places took about 2.5 hours to get through the first two chapters. I think there's 5 or 6 chapters, so I think it's about a 9 or 10 hour game.
How much is it?
30. It was on sale for $26.99, I think. It might still be on sale at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's 30 right now on Steam.
Okay, they removed the early buy-in. This came out last week, so I thought it was a beautiful game from what I played. And there are definitely things going on in the game that I have absolutely no idea what they mean, but I definitely want to find out. Like it's got the intrigue in the game, which for this type of game where I quickly lose interest, I think it says something that I was still interested after about 2.5 hours of playing this. I don't know anyone that's finished it yet, so I don't know if there's a big payoff at the end or what happens if that type of gameplay stuff keeps up. So I guess go at your own pace, figure that out. Hopefully Zeke will latch on to it when he plays it and report back with more next week. So that's Rime. It's out on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and I think Nintendo Switch as well. They got a new game for once after Mario Kart, I guess. If you want to buy it on that, I think it performs best on PC. I was getting like 90 to 120 FPS. It maxed out, so I didn't have any issues with that. That's Rime. Zeke, you got a 10-minute game? You know what I'm saying when I say that? We can talk.
Well, no, it's no.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we fucking shit on Friday the 13th for 10 minutes, and then we'll go to a break. I erased that game from my memory. I went in so hyped after last week and the episode before that for Friday 13th. That game is fucking awful. I'm not even going to beat around the bush. It is just a bad game. I can't.
I don't know. Well, it's not terrible. I mean, come on. It's got some problems, but well, okay. Well, let's start with what did you not like about it?
The game. Like, I don't even know. Okay, let me talk about how I played it, and maybe this you guys could pick at this. That might be enough for you guys to pick at. We played with 8 people's a max party, right? In the game, is it 8 is max? Okay, so
no, 9.
9?
Yeah, 8 survivors and 1
8
Jason.
survivors and a killer. Yeah,
okay, so we played with 6 people, so 5 survivors and 1 killer, which I was told is not the way to play. But that's what we played with anyways. None of us had played before, out of the 6 of us, so we went in completely blind and kind of learned as we go, or as we played around. The first game that I played, the first match that I played, I was just walking around, and within probably 10 seconds, the same thing that happened to Zeke that he was talking about last episode happened to me. I died, and for the next 15 minutes, I sat there and watched everyone else play the game. And that was not a very good way to start my experience with this game. We went on, and I continued to play a little bit more. I tried to like this game. I stuck with it for about 3 hours and tried to stick with it. Eventually, I played Jason once, and it was cool to play God, I guess, because like you literally just run around and kind of have free reign. I really do believe that this game right now is not carried by the game on Twitch. It's carried by people RPing in the game. Like, the game is not the main people watch Friday the 13th. It's because of the RP occurring, which I think is like the most shallow RP because it's like bite-sized RP. It's like you have 20 minutes at most, I guess, to make a character. And then if you continue that character in the next thing, it's already kind of old by then. So I don't know. I cannot speak highly about this game. It's buggy as fuck. It's bug ridden through and through. I cannot believe it's a full release. Cannot believe it's a $40 full release as well, which we talked about last episode. I have nothing nice to say about this game. I am the biggest hater, I think, of this game that I've seen.
All right, let me chime in here.
Okay.
This was my experience with Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th was super fun for the first like 2 to 3 hours, and then once people start understanding how to use Jason, it's really like, God, it's really difficult to have a lot of fun when you can't do anything with Jason, or you can't do anything against
About
Jason.
him.
Like once if you don't have a pocket knife, or something, like you've used up all your shit and Jason's on top of you and everybody else is you have no like friends around you, like there's no defense. He can just toy with you, which someone did for like 10 minutes, just toyed with me while I was like looking through houses that had already been searched. He doesn't have to kill you. All he has to do is stay close to you so you don't get away.
Exactly. And that was my experience is Jason would show up outside of a house and there's 2 of us in there, and then we would, to make the experience fun, we'd be like, welcome to McDonald's. Can we take your order? And he'd like open the window or something, be like, hey, can I get a McFlurry? And we'd say, no, the McFlurry machine's broken. Can you come back later? Like that type of shit. When literally all he could do is just come to the front door and kill us, and that's it. Like if there wasn't the barrier of RP and the restraint from Jason, like Zeke said, to just come in and kill you, then I feel like that's not fun at all. But maybe I just don't like these type of games because I didn't like Dead by Daylight as well. I never even played Dead by Daylight because I was so disinterested in it. So maybe it's not my type.
I think, okay, of all the things, the biggest tell for me of a game like this is Are there times that I want to play it when I'm not streaming? And the answer is no. I do not want to play. I tried it a couple times when I wasn't streaming, and it was not fun because we couldn't work together with random pickup groups. Like we couldn't work together. I would get killed, and then I have to wait in order to get wait till everybody was dead or the game was over to get the points and that kind of shit. Not even though, and it's not because I'm not good at it, because I'm not good at Battlegrounds either, but I find myself playing it offline from time to time because I have fun doing it.
Sure. Yeah.
This game, I do not find myself wanting to play offline.
Jump in, Co.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. A lot of what you guys have said, I completely agree with. The difference in what we have here is I played this game a lot when I was in beta. I played almost always with groups of friends, and I was just like you, JP. I was really excited for this game to come out. It had gone dark for months. I was expecting a lot of new content. I knew there were some new maps coming. I knew there were new Jasons coming. So I was pretty excited. The game came out, and I played it the second I could, essentially. I played with Bikeman and Baru, and for 3 or 4 hours straight, it was an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Then after that, I was like, okay, well, I'll play with those guys again when I can. The next few days went by, and my schedule was basically opposite of all the people I wanted to play with, because I stream in the mornings and they all stream at night. And I kind of, at that point, during that downtime, I also found out about the price. And for some reason, I really sat down and kind of realized, kind of like what Zeke's talking about. I found myself, I didn't really want to play it unless I had my friends to play with. I didn't really want to just open it up and play it. And the big reason why, and I've talked about this a few times on stream, there really wasn't a lot added from when I played to when it is now. And most importantly, it's the price, man. The price, there's nothing about the price that doesn't rub me the wrong way a little bit. It's one gameplay loop and 3 different maps. And that's it. And some people will get their worth out of that. The Dead by Daylight players will probably play this game into the ground. There's a very extensive leveling and perk system that you could theoretically play for hundreds of hours. There's a lot of reason to play the game over and over. But once you've done, just like Zeke was saying a minute ago, once you've done that 3 to 4 hours, it's really a good time, and you start getting into just replaying it for the 15th, 16th time in a row that session. If you're not doing what the Bikemans are doing these days and all the streamers, if you're not doing RP, if you're not going in for different reasons to do that gameplay loop, it really loses a lot of its appeal. And that's what I realized when I realized that I didn't want to play by myself, because I was having more fun playing with my friends and RPing with them and laughing at all that stuff, not really the game. And then tie that into the fact that there wasn't a lot of new stuff for me. The price was I'm someone that has if the price is really bad for a game, I don't know why, but it affects. I'm always judging it while I'm playing it. I'm like, I've got this kind of cockeye, and I'm like, why is this game so expensive? When am I going to get to the part that makes it worth it?
Sure.
And that kind of played in a little bit. But I do want to say this. And I say this when I talk about this a lot. The devs of this game are really good people. They did their best. They had a whole bunch of shit hit the fan right when it came out. They completely underestimated their initial viewer base or player base. It was a really bad situation, and they did their best to recover it. And they also did their best to make adjustments. But the thing that I've been hearing over and over is the price is indicative of the licensing they had to do for the game, and they would have charged less if they could have. Which, I mean, is cool, but at the same time, you licensed Jason and Friday the 13th. This is all stuff should have been factored in from the beginning. So I don't know, man. It's a situation where it's like you said earlier. I want to like it, and it's a pretty decent game. But I've played it almost 20 hours total, and just like I was done with Dead by Daylight, I'm kind of done with this one too right now. Unless my buddies ask me to play again, in which case I'll be like, cool, let's jump in and have some rounds.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think it says a lot about a game to me where if I'm playing with people I want to play with, my friends, and I don't have a good time, something's got to be wrong. I feel like most games with friends should be somewhat enjoyable.
There's a different factor here, though, that I think we don't really talk about a lot on this show, though, is I totally agree with what you said, first of all, but there are games that are more enjoyable with friends than other games that are more enjoyable with friends.
Sure.
Like once you factor in having people you know playing with you, there's different levels of fun within that as well. It's not just like, oh, I'm playing with friends, so every game I play is amazing. Like, there's different levels of enjoyment. And if you are playing with friends, you can get a lot of enjoyment out of this game. Like, this ranks pretty high up there in the sandboxy, things to RP, things to do, lots of different Jasons to mess with the randomized perks.
Right.
Like, there's a lot in this game that you could take your little group of friends in and spend a couple weeks in, and have a good time with. So, credit where it's due in that regard. But everything else we've said else still stands.
Yeah, yeah. I think you can kind of pull a slice of what we talked about in terms of this game when it comes to Twitch as a whole right now. Like, I think the reason that you see a lot of people that are heavily focused on RPing in games doing so well right now is because there's not really that many new games out. And RPing is such a different experience than
it's like a new game.
It's a new game on top of a new game in that sense. So I'm very interested to see what happens over the course of June and July, and especially leading into the fall. Like, there's not that many releases coming out. So are we going to kind of see like the RPers that we've seen kind of go from game to game and continue that RP up and make a new viewing experience, so to speak? Like, is that going to become the thing on Twitch? I really wonder if it's going
to play games that are like 20 years old or something.
Yeah. Like, I want to see what happens to viewership across the board, because I think that the RPers are just going to continue to grow while everyone else who doesn't adjust to what they're doing is going to kind of flounder and kind of do the quote old thing on Twitch, which is just to fucking play video games, which is still kind of cool. But it's definitely the RP crew's kind of taken over for sure. And there's not anything wrong with that. It's just that's where Twitch is right now, I think.
It's where the waves are.
Yeah.
It's like we're surfers and Twitch is the waves, and as streamers, we got to go where those waves are. We're just going to sit there and stagnate.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it has 4,494 reviews on Steam, and it is mixed.
I think that's I'd say this game is. I think that's a perfect way to describe this game.
I think that's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mixed. There's good parts and there's bad parts. Like it, and it's relatively even on both sides in a lot of ways, depending on how you're playing it, especially for solo players.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
Yeah, I have seen a couple of people say that they did jump into this game as a solo player and queued up and had a pretty good time. Like, I think that with how Twitch is or streamers on Twitch are showcasing this game and being so involved in the RP, that's kind of translating over into the community that's playing it on Steam. And so you're getting a lot of people actively trying to RP in these public games, which is probably good for that community, right? It's not a bunch of
overall.
Yeah, it's not a bunch of hardcore people just trying to win. They're having a good time and being invested in the
game.
They're
enjoying the game.
Yeah, which is kind of cool to see. It's kind of cool to see. But yeah, we're due for a break, so let's take that, and then I think we still got a bunch of games to talk about, because we didn't talk about games at all last week. So we'll do just that. Also, some Twitch news I think was announced at the beginning, so I'll check that out during the break, and we'll probably talk about that first thing when we come back. So don't go nowhere. We'll talk more stuff here on Drop Frames right after the break. We'll see you then.